Nikki Haley successfully eliminated Donald Trump from the presidential campaign on a frigid morning in Iowa this week at an Irish bar. Nikki Haley, a conservative official candidate, was delivering her stump speech. A quick 10 minutes on expenditure cutbacks, education reform, and a strong Southern stance. At the heart of her pitch was this: a Haley government would be a return to business as usual, a show-free alternative to the current leader, former President Donald Trump. "Don't you want that once more? We can have that again," she said. The line drew the most enthusiastic applause of the morning from the 100 or so electors who had braved the freezing streets to hear her speak in Waukee, on the outskirts of the state capital, Des Moines. Miss Haley, 51, appears to have the wind at her back as she prepares for the Iowa caucuses on Monday, the first contest in the 10-24 Republican race. The former South Carolina representative has had a string of well-timed victories, securing backing from wealthy donors, accumulating endorsements, and steadily rising in the polls. Doug Bold, a Haley supporter, said after witnessing her talk on Tuesday, "She's engaging, she's smart, she's personable, and I think she has a vision of where we should be 20 years from now." He described the idea as that of a shining city on a hill Republican faction. "The person I grew up with." Unfortunately, most surveys show that not enough electors are buying Haley's vision. Including Iowa, Mr. Trump appears to maintain a 30-point lead. Observers believe Nikki Haley is running a campaign for the wrong era of Republican politics. Her beard ignores the reality of the modern Republican group, whose base has overwhelmingly supported Mr. Trump. Miss Haley's favored establishment, moderate conservatism, no longer resonates with the values represented by her candidacy. Misunderstanding of where the base is and what it wants. Rimmer, the Conservative Accountability Project's political director, is a heavy gun specialist. Haley is making a very appealing push to resurrect the old Republican faction. However, there aren't enough Republicans who do this. What exactly is her strategy? Miss Haley's supporters have stated, both personally and publicly, that she is playing to win. They insist that as the field narrows, Miss Haley becomes the clear choice. To Mr. Trump, she will be ahead. Encouraged by moderates and an increasing number of Republican voters who have grown bored of the former president or are apprehensive about his chances in the general election. Miss Haley appears to be on track to unseat Florida Governor Ron DeSantis as the runner-up in Iowa. Miss Haley attempted to present herself as Mr. Trump's solitary opponent during a Wednesday night debate. "I wish Donald Trump were on this stage. He's the one I'm up against," she explained. Campaign friends told the BBC that the goal for Miss Haley and IDWA is simple: gather momentum. They emphasized the importance of making a solid showing. "She no longer relies on this," he stated. Long-term eyewitnesses countered that Nikki Haley is skilled at disputing preconceptions. Randy Covington stated that when it comes to her profession, many people have underestimated her and many have been mistaken. Seasoned columnist from South Carolina. Even her adversaries acknowledge that she is adept at retail politics, including the door-knocking and handshakes that led her to the State House in 2005. She stunned her own party in the primary by defeating Larry, the longest-serving member of the House. Miss Haley had no political experience at the time and worked as a clerk at her family's clothes shop. Almost 20 years later, the state delegate, lead representative, and UN minister still prefer to introduce herself as a bookkeeper. She emphasizes that she is a mother of two, the wife of a combat veteran, and the product of Indian immigrants striving to do right by their loved ones. Miss Haley interrupts television debates, pancake houses, and municipal centers for a grin and pointed eye contact. She's a down-home American fighting hard for your vote. She connects. She has the X factor, said David Wilkins, a former South Carolina House Speaker who spearheaded Miss Haley's campaign to the House of Representatives. Introducing her to more people will generate more support for her. It's quite straightforward. Miss Haley's mission frequently appears to be from 2012. More compromise and pragmatism. There are fewer complaints and conspiracy theories. She is a staunch conservative, but she speaks with nuance on contentious subjects like abortion and immigration, and she is less eager to engage in the nation's cultural wars. "I once said that Miss Haley is boring, but I quickly clarified that I meant it as a compliment. We want to avoid the fallacy of politics being defined by something someone tweeted." According to polls, Miss Haley's strategic strategy could make her the most formidable opponent to President Joe Biden in November's general election. Last week, she said Trump isn't better than Biden, citing a Wall Street Journal report from last year. However, Trump must be defeated first, despite my 17-point victory over Biden. This is Trump's party, unless Republicans say otherwise. Jimmy Places, an Iowa Republican political counselor, says 1/3 of Republican primary voters in the Trump camp are loyal to the prior president and outraged by Miss Haley's traditional politics. Perhaps she's doing business as usual. Mike Williams said Trump isn't an Iowa resident. I need an outsider. Miss Haley is constrained by vice, like Mr. Trump's party control. She wants to attract never-Trumpers, who hate the former president, and supporters who fear Biden will defeat him. She must break with him without alienating his allies, who may still back someone else. Mrs. Haley has been cautious in criticizing her former boss. At a televised Iowa town hall, a Planned fan timidly admitted voting for Trump twice. May as well, she laughed joyfully. She balances herself well in most speeches. Trump was a great president. She says, brilliantly, yet he causes havoc. Miss Haley's friends doubt she'll run for vice president, as the Trump campaign has rejected. Miss Haley, however, consented to be his UN ambassador. Who knows what will happen? Law professors and practitioners are absent. No former judge, Twitter star, TV analyst, or prosecutor. Hemp possesses the qualifications to forecast the outcome of the 14th Amendment lawsuit. We can discuss my likely traits and get to them. We can also use nearby examples. But this constant effort is unprecedented. After a tough trial loss, a skilled federal judge reminded me that humility never hurts anyone. Remove Donald Trump from the 2024 presidential ballot. Let's admit this is new. Since we've traversed the country on this issue, we can learn by solving difficulties. Many 14th Amendment challenges fail. State secretaries, courts, and federal judges have rejected challenges for various reasons. Colorado and Maine found Trump to have committed insurrection and removed him from their 2024 ballots. State-by-state volatility may have prompted the Supreme Court's ruling late this week. Harares received ceremonial permission to hear cases. The court sent one scheduling paragraph. It does not address legal issues like other certiorari orders. Why is the case accepted without explanation? To what purpose? We can read his petition to comprehend Trump's disqualifying reasons between 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock. A thin chunk of the pie could mean the court rules on all of them. Some or none. It may support Trump on some topics but oppose others. Trump may not have acknowledged the complex mathematical variations. Holmesian reasoning limits options. Sherlock or Oliver Wendell. A non-controversial premise. The SC wants to stop this. The justices and most Americans don't want a slow flow of similar lawsuits in the coming months. The court has every reason to employ the silver bullet as dozens of states refuse to remove Trump from the 2024 ballot. One shot. Agreed. We have completed the task. Agreed. If so, we know who wins. Consider the improbable scenario that the court overturns the Colorado Supreme Court and upholds Trump's exclusion. Procedures were followed in Colorado. This would remove Trump from the Colorado ballot and demonstrate that other states can apply the 14th Amendment fairly. The issue is that pro-Colorado and anti-Trump rulings don't affect other states. If the court leaves disqualification to the states, their judgments are significant in certain cases. Did this state give Trump due process? By state, the Supreme Court would review or reject disqualification verdicts. Courts and administrative agencies are hearing over 30 similar cases. Do you think the Supreme Court would favor this? I don't. One ruling from the court is enough. All nationwide 14th Amendment cases. Both paths led to Trump's win. First, the Supreme Court could find that only Congress can set 14th Amendment processes, leaving states without a solution. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment contains the insurrection clause, but Section 5 lets Congress legislate it. Second, the court could exempt the presidency from the 14th Amendment. Even though they apply to all U.S. civil and military authorities, the adjustments vary by officer, senator, representative, and presidential elector. It's unlikely the framers intended to keep insurrectionists out of anything except high authorities. As we all guess, I'd go with the one-shot method, possibly with some knowledge and intuition. Courts could do both. Courts can apply textualist, plain language principles. When the Constitution requires it, Congress and states decide. States can decide. Legal, transparent, and honest. Also, the court would build itself. Effective political heat shield. Not your thing? Congress is responsible. Failed obligations. Our staff will cover every twist and turn of this hot tale. Comment, like, and subscribe for updates. Guess what? 3 reporters and the New York Times ordered former President Donald Trump to pay $400,000 in legal fees. Guess what? 3 reporters and the New York Times ordered former President Donald Trump to pay $400,000 in legal fees. Can you believe it? They revealed his shady finances and decades-long tax fraud. Suzanne Craig, who covered the 2018 Pulitzer Prize-winning investigation, reported this New York Supreme Court Justice Jennifer Schichter judgment. Can you believe it? They revealed his shady finances and decades-long tax fraud. Suzanne Craig, who covered the 2018 Pulitzer Prize-winning investigation, reported this New York Supreme Court Justice Jennifer Schichter judgment. Trump will also tell reporters David Barstow and Russ Buettner. Trump will also tell reporters David Barstow and Russ Buettner. President Trump sued the Times, his niece, Mary Trump, and reporters last year. He said they colluded to steal and expose his confidential tax information. The former president claimed they violated his privacy and harmed him. It appears the judge did not buy it, and Trump will pay a lot. President Trump sued the Times, his niece, Mary Trump, and reporters last year. He said they colluded to steal and expose his confidential tax information. The former president claimed they violated his privacy and harmed him. It appears the judge did not buy it, and Trump will pay a lot. Justice Schichter dismissed his complaint in May 2021, stating that the reporters were reporting in the public interest under the First Amendment and that Trump had failed to make a viable claim. Justice Schichter accused Trump of harassing and bullying the defendants in a frivolous action. The state's 2020 anti-SLAPP law protects journalists and others from unfair litigation, Justice Schichter added. Justice Schichter dismissed his complaint in May 2021, stating that the reporters were reporting in the public interest under the First Amendment and that Trump had failed to make a viable claim. Justice Schichter accused Trump of harassing and bullying the defendants in a frivolous action. The state's 2020 anti-SLAPP law protects journalists and others from unfair litigation, Justice Schichter added. The defendants received fair attorney's fees and costs. The defendants received fair attorney's fees and costs. The Times senior vice president for external communications, Danielle Rhodes-Ha, praised the verdict and emphasized the anti-SLAPP statute. Her email to Law and Crime claimed the court's verdict sends a strong message to censors of journalists and information. The Times senior vice president for external communications, Danielle Rhodes-Ha, praised the verdict and emphasized the anti-SLAPP statute. Her email to Law and Crime claimed the court's verdict sends a strong message to censors of journalists and information. Trump's spokesman disregarded Friday's request for a reaction. Trump called the Times and its reporters traitors for covering his taxes. Trump's spokesman disregarded Friday's request for a reaction. Trump called the Times and its reporters traitors for covering his taxes. His frequent denials and boasts of paying millions in taxes. His frequent denials and boasts of paying millions in taxes. Trump faces tax charges in a New York court. Letitia James, the state attorney general, has accused him and his corporation of 15 years of tax evasion. Trump faces tax charges in a New York court. Letitia James, the state attorney general, has accused him and his corporation of 15 years of tax evasion. James wants a $370 million punishment and a ban on Trump conducting business in New York. James wants Trump to be fined $370 million and banned from conducting business in New York. Justice Arthur Engoron is expected to rule by the end of January, following the conclusion of the civil trial on Thursday. Justice Arthur Engoron is expected to issue a ruling by the end of January following the conclusion of the civil trial on Thursday. On Friday, January 12, 2024, critics slammed Donald Trump's legal staff for filing a legally absurd appeals court case. MSNBC commentator Michael A. Cohen expressed surprise upon realizing that an American president cannot be charged with any crime, including murder, unless impeached and convicted. On Friday, January 12, 2024, critics slammed Donald Trump's legal staff for filing a legally absurd appeals court case. MSNBC commentator Michael A. Cohen expressed surprise upon learning that a president cannot be impeached and convicted of murder. He was shocked and predicted Trump's opponents would utilize it in 2024. He was shocked and predicted Trump's opponents would utilize it in 2024. Cohen dubbed it Trump's second worst political miscalculation, emphasizing its political consequences. He said Trump's lawyers mistakenly depicted him as an unaccountable leader with ridiculous assertions. Cohen dubbed it Trump's second worst political miscalculation, emphasizing its political consequences. He said Trump's lawyers mistakenly depicted him as an unaccountable leader with ridiculous assertions. Cohen feared Biden and other opponents would portray Trump as someone who wants to destroy political opponents, undermining his election chances. Cohen criticized Trump's Fox News appearance and Roe v. Wade brag. Cohen feared Biden and other opponents would portray Trump as someone who wants to destroy political opponents, undermining his election chances. Cohen criticized Trump's Fox News appearance and Roe v. Wade brag. Abortion is polarizing, so Cohen feels this was a mistake. Cohen said Trump's role in repealing Roe v. Wade will dominate campaign commercials, placing him under pressure. Abortion is polarizing, so Cohen feels this was a mistake. Cohen expects campaign ads to highlight Trump's role in overturning Roe v. Wade, placing him under pressure. Cohen called Trump a gift to the Democrats owing to his impulsivity and political incorrectness. The second update discussed Trump's response to a lost New York fraud trial. Trump acted poorly and made inappropriate remarks after losing. Victorious, he threatened the judge, NYAG, and court clerk, refusing judicial orders. His 6-minute statement depicted him as a political victim. He spread these views on social media, worsening matters. Trump also answered President Joe Biden's early social media border combat request. In a surprising shift, anti-war protester Trump suggested military intervention at the southern border. The talk next addressed Representative Elise Stefanik's controversial term for U.S. Capitol assailants, captives. Greg Sargent of the New Republic predicts big GOP internal troubles. He worries that the party's January 6 riot issues may worsen if Trump becomes president and pardons the rioters.